September 13th, 2023. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Mini on the 2000 tick chart using the NinjaTrader 8 platform. There was only one piece of economic data that came out right around 5:30 Pacific Standard, which is a core CPI, kind of the inflation numbers. It caused this kind of knee-jerk reaction to sell off, and then it quickly recovered. You can look down at the descriptions below to see where I took my trades as well as where I thought I saw setups. On the chart, though, these boxed things are where I actually took my trade. I only took one trade today, and this is the pre-market highs and the pre-market low. Technically, the pre-market low was down here, and I originally had this as an entire trading range all the way down to here. But shortly after, I kind of decided that this is probably where the meat of the trading range would be, and I deleted the range support down here. But as you can see, overall, it looked like prices just kind of moved in this big, probably 20, 30 point range. And for about a good 4 hours, let's say about 7:50 Pacific Standard to about 11:50, that's a good solid 4 hours where prices were just kind of stuck in the mud in this trading range right here, which is about only 8 points. I did see some setups, and this is actually where I took my trade. And then it sold off, and it bounced around, almost kind of touches and confirms the bottom of the pre-market lows, rallies, and then goes into the close. So it's kind of an interesting day. It was a few areas where I thought, well, a couple of areas I had missed the trade because for one reason or another, it didn't fill my order, or I was probably too slow on trying to getting my order through. So here we go. So this is pre-market. Again, as I said earlier, I thought the low was here, but it looked like it fit better right here. Saw this big push up, bounce around, and this is in the pre-market. There's a new high, first entry long, pulls back, creates a second entry long. There's two clear legs down. This yellow channel hasn't been confirmed yet, but this is a good signal bar. And it's a good signal bar, but it feels like it was a trap, because if you treated this as a good signal bar and you took this trade, right when this one goes, I don't remember if it flashed up or flashed down first. If you put your entry here, there's a potential that you would have gotten filled and then it would have trapped you out. Then it would have gone in the direction that you actually wanted it to go. But if I were seeing this in real time, I'd like to think, since I don't know that this is a potential support, I would have waited for a confirmation setup. And right at the open, you do get a confirmation setup. You get a higher low right here. You don't really know you have a higher low yet until it creates this candle. But when this candle closes and it's forming, you got a confirmation of the second entry long. And this is a great candle, except it's pushing right up against the top of the pre-market highs. So you don't really have that much room to scalp out. And so just seeing after this close, it feels like unless you took it on an engulfing bar, which you at the time wouldn't even know that it was going to do this. You'd just be kind of banking on the bounce off the EMA. It felt a little bit risky. And then certainly when it closes, there's just no more room to scalp out. I also want to point out this is like very early in the trading day where things can be very volatile, because right at the market open, there could be a bunch of orders piled up that execute in regular trading hours. This happened at 6:30 and 27 seconds in the Pacific Standard, and then you could just tell how fast these candles printed. Then prices continue moving up. I draw the top of this channel as a resistance here. It looked like it touched once. It gets into this kind of consolidation congestion range. I don't like what I see. I do see a potential lower channel coming down here, so I drew this as a resistance. And I didn't really have this down here at the time. It was a little bit higher, and I treated this as an overshoot. And it looks like it just kind of chops around. You do have a new low. It's a first entry short, second entry short, but this is a bad signal bar. And when the second entry short confirms here and closes back up high, it just felt, you could have probably gotten stopped out. But it does look like it's confirming this orange channel. Comes down, it breaks through. At this point, it did draw this channel and extended it down a bit. Looks a little bit better here. Confirms, it rides it, then it breaks through. There's no trade. I'm just watching. I actually see a second entry short setting up here. So here, it's a new low, first entry short, pulls up. Now here I'm watching, wondering if it breaks through this EMA, if there's going to be a second entry short. But this isn't a very good signal bar. It closed above the EMA. It also closed right along this bottom of this yellow channel. But this yellow channel is looking more and more weak because after it touched the top, it kind of moved sideways. It's downward trending, but it moved sideways and it broke out. So now to say that it's going to move back in for a potential failed second entry short feels a little dicey because you have one thing going for you. You could say it's got the EMA and it's bouncing off, and you have this as another key entry point. So maybe a failed second entry short, but you don't have much room. So then you go, well, maybe it's a short. Okay, so it's a short. You're testing and banking off the bounce rejection off of this resistance. But this is a terrible signal bar, and it closed also above the EMA. So you have conflicting ideas, or at least I saw conflicting ideas. And so right here, this helps confirm that you do have a second entry short now. So after, not on this candle, but after this candle, I think there was a possible trade here. Now, ideally, I wanted, this candle to have closed below the EMA. Then I would have felt more confident dropping in an order. But when this candle closed, it also made a double bottom. So that gives me pause. Made a double bottom. It wasn't strong enough to break through below this, even though it broke through the EMA. But you have to argue if the EMA is flattening out. So again, even though it's a possible trade, it just felt, it's a little bit confusing for me. And I thought, okay, well, I'm not 100% sure. I should just wait. Looks like it would have worked out pretty nicely though. Then prices continue chopping around. I draw this channel coming down. It kind of obeys it and it breaks up. And now I'm watching if there's going to be some kind of reaction where this EMA is. It doesn't really respect it. It just kind of breaks right through. I draw this as a potential support. And previously, I actually had this lower here. I treated this as an overshoot. So I see this as a new low, first entry short, comes all the way up, creates a second entry short. But you wouldn't have known to get ready for a short because this is a bad signal bar. Here you have a confirmed second entry short. So here I'm wondering if there's enough power to come back up. So here, when it forms, I'm thinking there might be a reversal and it could continue going up. And this could be a failed second entry short. It looks like a decent signal bar. It closed above the EMA, and but the thing was, it was like an overshoot of this green channel. So I was wondering if this is an overshoot, there could be a reaction and move back down to this side. So even though it's looking for a failed secondary short to go long, it could be a fake out. It could be move up and then it continue a second leg down to touch the other side. So knowing that, I wasn't really sure what was going to happen. So I had to kind of sit on my hands. Looks like it confirms this failed second entry short. However, when this closes, it's too late to try to take a trade because you're going to run into this resistance here. And as I said, after this overshoot, it could be coming back down. Flashes up. At this point, I don't think this is an overshoot anymore. I actually thought, and I drew and extended it up to here. So it fit a little bit better here. Prices then continue chopping, and I thought, okay, I actually have a two-tier channel potentially. One here, and now it's obeying from the midline up, another channel moving up. It respects it pretty well. So now I have another clear overshoot. It looks like it's overshoot, and now it's coming back in. And so here, I was thinking, okay, this could be a double top, or it could be a new high, first entry long, and potentially setting up a second entry long. But the second entry long, it's a good signal bar. It's bouncing off the EMA. Concern is it's an overshoot, just like there was an overshoot previously here. And I wasn't sure if it was going to like push all the way back down. So there's an overshoot. It clearly made it to the other side now. And I'm thinking it could actually break and create a symmetric little overshoot on this side. But I wasn't sure. The other thing was, it just felt a little risky because I'm ignoring this count. I'm saying this is a new high, first entry long, second entry long, but this could actually just be a first entry long if you reset the count, which you technically should do if you're following the proper price action rules. So then here it creates, in this case, a second entry long or a first entry long. So that's just kind of throwing me for a loop. It's like, well, do I count this as first entry or do I not count it as a first entry? So I just wanted to wait for a confirmation setup. So here I'm looking for a higher low to be above the EMA, and here it forms. So here, when it creates this lower high, double bottom, unless you were just super ambitious and you put one tick above and took it on this engulfing, I don't think it would have been safe to wait and take the trade after this close. Because after this close, even though it confirms the second entry long, this is already too close to the recent highs, which double topped here. So it gives me pause to try to take a long position here, unless you were aggressive and you took a engulfing position. What I really needed is this bullish candle to close a little bit lower to give me a little bit more room to scalp out. Prices then continue moving. It follows, and it follows nicely on this green channel, but it looks like it's losing power now. It looks like it's kind of consistently breaking below. And it kind of falls into this consolidation range now. So it looks like it's just chopping left and right. Well, not left and right, but up and down. And at first, I thought this was the trading range, this red transparent one. It looked like it's confirming. There's like a triple test here, small little breakout. I'm thinking of potentially a fail breakout. And I was thinking this is potentially the support. And so kind of you only have a first entry short from here. First entry short comes back down. And this is actually where I tried to take a trade and it didn't get filled. So this is actually a new high. You come down, I'm going to zoom in. You get a first entry long, pulls back. This creates the second entry long. So this is a missed trade because this is what what happened was I like the looks of this signal bar, and I was thinking, okay, it has an overshoot. It could push back up because I'm thinking one leg, pull back, maybe a second leg. And when this one formed, I actually dropped my order one tick right here, and it never got filled, and it just kind of kept going without me. Now, I looked at it afterwards and I noticed it was below the EMA, which isn't preferable to go long on a second entry long. Also, this is the first break of this channel going down. So it's the first break. It wants to probably test this. Plus, there's an overshoot here of this red channel because this blue one doesn't exist yet. I'll just drag it out of the way. Now, the fact that I didn't get filled is probably a blessing in disguise because I think this is actually a riskier trade had I actually taken it, because even though they had a first entry long here, you could see this as one leg down. And after it broke, it probably wants to test this recent low. So not getting filled here is probably in hindsight the best that should have happened. Even though this trade, worked out, it's good that I didn't get it though, I think. So then prices then drop down, flashes down. Here is my red channel, and I see this coming down. I saw this a new high, first entry long. And so here's actually something very interesting. I saw this in real time, but I didn't trust it. I saw this as a fail breakout. It could potentially be moving back into this trading range. Overall, sentiment looked like it had been bullish, and I saw a hidden second entry long from a new high to first entry long on this candle. It breaks below, then comes right back up and engulfs this one. So on the life of this candle, it created the second entry long that was hidden. And so at the time, I felt, because I didn't fully analyze this one, I thought I missed out a trade. Potentially there's another trade here. There's a sharp sell-off right here. Let's go ahead and do this. Sharp sell-off here. I should jump in on this trade. And then when this candle formed, I said, okay, clearly it's a second entry long. It's confirmed, even though it's hidden. I'm going to enter on the previous signal bar, which was this guy. And I'm going to enter one tick above. So my entry was right here, 52.22. 52.22, look, it's just one tick away. It never came back to fill me. Actually, I think I kicked it either 52.22 or 52.25. Nevertheless, I was right around here. I remember it came down, almost filled my order. Well, hard to say it almost, but I thought it would fill my order, but then it just went right back up. So unfortunately, I didn't get that trade. And so I just had to kind of, again, just wait. After this candle formed, I still had my order, but it was forming, and I thought, okay, I already made my profit target. I need to cancel it because to ask for it to come back down to pick me up just to move back in the direction that I want, it would be a big ask. Then prices continue moving. This is actually where I did take a trade. So the one and only trade that I took. I saw a new low here. I saw first entry short, pulls up, second entry short. Now I saw a second entry short. I saw that it closed above the EMA, which I liked. I also saw this as a new high. It's a first entry long, pulls back, second entry long. So actually, first entry long, and it's getting ready to form the second entry long, but instead of a hidden second entry long, it's a more deliberate first entry long, second entry long. And I like that a little bit better because it's more obvious. So if this next candle prints higher than this one, then I know it's a confirmed second entry long. I also know that the second entry short has failed. So when it formed and I actually clicked above and started chopping around, I dropped in my order. I didn't get filled right away, but it did come back, pick me up, and immediately came back up and closed at the high. So I was able to get my 1 point profit target, which was nice. I wanted to make sure I got out before I hit the highs here because I wasn't sure if it was some kind of resistance would be respected. And I was thinking maybe pushing it to 2 points because maybe push all the way back up to here. But I just decided that that 1 point profit target was good enough because I did miss these two. And I was thinking I don't want to just suddenly reverse and think like I need to be greedy and try to make up for these two potential not losses, but missed trades. So I just had to be careful and remind myself what the plan was. It looked like if I tried to go for 2 points, I would have gotten stopped out and then be kicking myself for not just taking the point when I had it. The prices continue moving. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out a bit. Go ahead and fix this. Okay. Then prices continue moving, and this is actually where I saw a second entry short hidden. So it's a new low here, the first entry short. And you'll notice this is the first second entry short confirmed. It moves up, and on the life of this candle, creates a second part of the second entry short. So it's a first entry short. On life candle goes up, comes back down, second entry short. Now I saw the second entry short. It's a hidden second entry short. It's the top of the range. It's a pretty good signal bar, but it just feels a little congested right here. I would rather have a clear second entry short, just like when I had a clear second entry long here, because I was debating whether I'm reading things correctly also. But I also saw there was a measured move made, so it clearly one leg up, pull back, second leg up. So it could be ripe for a correction back down. But when it also closed, it felt like this is already too close. Even though the EMA is flattening, it's too close to the midline also. So I just felt like had this candle actually just been a little bit, you know, even this candle been a little bit smaller, just give me a little more confidence, I think I might have taken the trade, but I left it alone. Then it forms and it creates this lower high. This is a signal bar that it closed technically bearish because it's a bullish candle, meaning that it, closed above its open, but it's also right at the midline of this trading range, this red trading range. So I just wasn't sure what it was. So, but in hindsight, I looked at it and I think this could have been the first attempt of it could have been the first attempt of this price action, after a breakout to come one push down because it made the measure move one down, pulls up. This could be the first one leg up, and then next leg probably come back down to try to reach this other side. But after having more time to look back at it and debate it, I think, well, in real time, I didn't see all that and think about that. But turns out it would have worked. Had this actually just closed more red or bearish below the EMA, I probably would have just been more confident below the EMA and ideally below the midline. Then I probably would have taken the trade. I also saw this as a new high, first entry long. Now it moved all the way back down to here. And this is actually where I drew this overlapping range now, because I thought this is potentially where the other range could be actually. Maybe we're playing within this big blue one. And so it came down. I saw this as a new high, first entry long, second entry long. So the second entry long, this isn't the best signal bar, so I had to leave it alone just immediately. And it closed below the middle of the bar. And so it's at the bottom of the range, so you got that going for you, but that just wasn't good enough, in my opinion. So I had to leave it alone. Chops around. You do kind of get a lower high here, but it's a bad signal bar. So goes up, it touches, so it is respecting. It looks like it is in this range now. Chops around, and it kind of touches the top of this blue range. Confirms it. There's a small overshoot here. So this is a new low, first entry short, second entry short. The second entry short could also be a potential fail breakout. And I did notice the EMA is starting to go upwards. So I was debating whether I should take an entry here because it's kind of a doji. So there was a struggle and it opened and closed at the same spot. Had this actually had a little bit more meat and closed red, then I might have been more comfortable taking a short. But what also gave me pause was in this gigantic blue range or this red range, they've kind of hit the top, came back to the bottom, hit the top, came back to the bottom. They repeated it several times, but here made one attempt, it failed. Came back up to the top now, made a second attempt to come back down, and it failed. Now it's pushing back up, and this time it breaks through. So I wasn't 100% sure if this failed breakout could actually be a failed breakout pullback and continue upwards. So knowing that, I just had to say, okay, well, maybe I should just skip this. Prices then chopped around, and it looked like it was a failed breakout because it kind of goes back down. But again, I noticed it doesn't hit the bottom of the range, either the red one or the blue one. So it gives me more reason to be cautious again. Finally makes it back down to the bottom and is bouncing. I saw this as a potential resistance, and this is a potential support. Up moved a little bit, but I don't see any good clean setups to take. Chops around, it's in this consolidation area, and then it looks like it just starts selling off. And I did look back, try to see if there was any way to have picked up on this. But I didn't really see a good, clean, uh, safe entry, in my opinion. Looks like it chops around, it comes back down, falls into this consolidation range. I do see a new low here. First entry short. Let me zoom in. First entry short. Up here. Close a new low. First entry short. Second entry short. This isn't a very good signal bar, so it's not very convincing. And it confirms the second entry short, but I'm thinking, okay, well, there's a potential it could be a failed second entry short, but I didn't have it labeled as failed second entry short. It wasn't really labeled at all first. I was just watching it, and I thought it was in the potential range. Had an overshoot here, overshoot here. So here, there's more reason to go short than to go long, but I just didn't feel comfortable going short. Then you do have a failed second entry short, but this failed second entry short, it it looks like it's, kind of, if you want to go long, you're kind of running into potential resistance. Plus, previously, price action has been telling you that things are selling off. So even though you're above the EMA, it feels like it's a little dicey, a little premature to decide that you want to go long here. So I waited, and here you got a confirmed higher low, but the higher low formed on a pretty terrible looking signal bar. It was on the EMA, which is holding, but it's flat. By the time this candle closes, it feels like it's too late, like the trade, unless you entered right here or put it back here, one tick above this guy. You didn't get filled and it would have left you. Put it one tick above here feels very aggressive because it kind of feels like it's in the middle of nowhere. Even though it did bounce off the EMA technically, this signal bar just kind of held me back. Just if I wanted to take it, it would have been, I think, an aggressive entry to take it on the engulfing. Then prices continue. It kind of falls into this range, consolidates, and this is just choppy. And also the last 10 minutes, which ideally, you should always, well, I wouldn't say always, but you should avoid just because this is where things get a little, I guess, a little gnarly. And then it just kind of goes into the close. So this is how I saw the charts today. There was a couple of trades that I missed. One of them, I think it was better that I had missed it. And the other one, I thought it was probably a good trade to have taken, but I didn't recognize it in time. So hopefully that was helpful.